Welcome to the Husker247 HypeCast. I'm Brian Christopherson. I'm joined by Michael Bruntz, and our special guest this week is Chris Schmidt from the Average Joe Sports Show. We're happy to have Schmitty. Schmitty is kind of like me, I think, in that he's a kind of a Husker 80s, 90s dork. Is that fair?
Big dork, capital D. Just grew up going with my family and dove into the history, nostalgia part of it, and saw a lot of great football, man. Absolutely. In the 80s, sold a lot of popcorn once upon a time for my midget football team so I could win tickets to see Barry Sanders. So that
63-42 game, huh?
Yeah, 35-0 at the end of one, right? So that shootout with the late great Ken Clark and Steve Taylor, big Broderick Thomas guy growing up. I wanted to fight for that number 89, but clearly wasn't tough enough to wear it, so I didn't. But yeah, man, 80s, 90s, it's a good time. Bad hairstyles back in the day, but it worked well to be a Nebraska fan then.
The reason I bring it up, too, is because Nebraska-Penn State had some interesting games in the 80s, of course. And they honestly, they've had some about every time they've played. There's been something kind of quirky or weird with it. I was going to ask you before we get rolling about this game in particular. Do you have like a favorite Nebraska-Penn State game or memory? And obviously there's all sorts of weird stuff in between when you talk about this particular matchup.
I remember being in my living room about 4 years old and Dad losing his mind on the 82 game. Mm-hmm. Mike McCluskey with the sideline catch, the trap in the end zone, and rewatching that thing once upon a time. There was a lot of early turnovers in that game, but ended up costing Nebraska a shot. That was their only loss of the year. Penn State, I think, got rolled by Bama the week after when they were the great independent team out of the Northeast. So they play everybody and anybody. And Penn State ended up winning the title that year. The following year, kickoff classic, 83, Nebraska bludgeoned Penn State to open things up. And then I think the last two times Nebraska played home and away in Big Ten play, 2012, 2013, really tight ball game in Lincoln, and a fortuitous end zone fumble by the fullback with Bill O'Brien coaching, and Butler was on those staffs, and then a gutty overtime win in 2013, the kick in overtime. Remember that, what that was like, an overtime win? Nebraska won.
Points in overtime?
Yeah, not just a win, but points in overtime for sure. And Kellogg and just, your vintage November, late November ball game. So, yeah, a lot of love for Penn State, Nebraska.
I think I just remembered it last night, that game they won in overtime with Pat Smith making the field goal, 23-20. Right. That also had one of the worst calls I've ever seen on Amir Abdullah. Should have been a touchdown run. Was it Sam Birch who they called?
I think that's
Clip.
Right.
Yeah. He did, for blocking. He got called for blocking, basically. Don't do that in football. But anyway, there's all sorts of stuff we could go through. We'll talk about this game, though, Saturday night now. And let's talk offensive side of the ball first. I'll start with you, Schmitty. TJ Lateef, I don't think he could have had a much better start than his first game at UCLA. Obviously, this is a different animal. It's different temperatures, a different challenge. They got a pretty good pass rush at times. How you feeling about TJ going into this one from what you know? And I'll ask the radio podcast guy question, since I get to do this once in a while. Like, do you think he makes the biggest impact in this game with his arm or his feet? Pick one, and it can only be one. That's what you guys always do.
It's going to be his feet. It's going to be his feet, just because of the mobility factor. He enhances the rushing attack for sure. You can't just key on Emmett, although they will. Penn State will. The mobility part, I mean, let's be honest. You have two tackles that do a great job for Nebraska run blocking. They have struggled from time to time pass protecting, and he'll have to get out of some trouble. You saw it early against UCLA. It might have been the third play where he's back to throw, and he spins out, breaks contain, keeps his eyes downfield, and completes a nice throw. I think it was to Key or Hunter, one of the two. But that is going to be critical Saturday night for Nebraska and Lateef. Get the ground game going for sure, but keep TJ's mobility a main factor to keep the Penn State defense off balance and stay alive for some plays. But my biggest concern is to just take care of the football. I was happy to hear that the quarterbacks have had contact from John Butler yesterday, and I don't know how much contact, but any contact is going to be more game-like than what you typically get with the quarterbacks, because you see quarterbacks have trouble holding on to the football a lot of time because they get into live game action, they get smacked, they don't hold on to it.
Yeah, that's a good point. And how they deal just in communication with the noise, we've heard it when we've been over there. They've been pumping that up as loud as can go to try to get ready for it. Bruns, obviously, Emmett is going to be the guy on the TV graphic at the beginning of the game with Nebraska making his Heisman Awards push with publicity over the last week. Feels like we've said almost about all you can say about Emmett, but this has to be like his biggest game, right? As far as having a chance to make a statement with actually people outside of our bubble really like knowing about him or like picking up steam in that way.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like I looked in the latest Heisman odds this morning, and he's not even listed in the top 12. So yeah, I mean, he's been a great back. Certainly, Doak Walker consideration should be a finalist there, but you just have not had enough flash plays, big games to justify that kind of attention. Penn State, I think, could put you on that a little bit. I think you probably have the caveat of, well, you're facing a team with an interim head coach, and how there's always an asterisk there. But I mean, he's got a chance to close against two really good rush defenses in Penn State and Iowa. You've got a bowl game out there as well. But this is going to be one of those games where you're going to need to, it's probably a 30 carry game with some catches mixed in there too. I mean, Dana Holgorsen said this week there was concerns about his durability earlier in the season. There are no longer those concerns now. They're coming off of a bye week. He himself says he's feeling pretty good about things. So I think you just kind of got to dance with the one who brought you. And, that's the run game with Emmett and kind of loosening things up a little bit for TJ Lateef, because I think you're going to see a ton of pressure from Penn State. They still have very talented defenders in spite of all the upheaval there with the coaching stuff. So they're going to need Emmett to kind of keep the offense on schedule and kind of be the drummer and set the beat for the offense.
Yeah, it's a chance too to sort of solidify. Maybe he's not going to win the Heisman or Doak, but like first team all conference and some of that stuff. I don't think it's why Nebraska did it with the publicity. I think it was more because they felt he deserved it, but also it's good for recruits and players to see it. But also it's like if you negotiate, how sometimes you set like this bar, but that at least you can get this. Like he's got the chance to at least, I think, secure some like first team all conference stuff with a big game like Saturday. So that would be a big deal. Kind of connected to that, Schmitty, the O-line, it feels like they've sort of figured some things out in recent weeks. I mean, maybe it's just because I feel like run blocking sort of is their strength and they've leaned more into it. But I guess what's your confidence level in them? And Bruns was kind of speaking about this. You're going against a defense that has some 4-star guys, has some guys who are going to play on Sunday. How are you feeling about this O-line as they head toward this 2-week stretch where it'll kind of set a narrative about how their season went, how they play, I think.
Well, and right now they are. I agree with both of you on just where Nebraska's settled. They've settled out of necessity right now with being a run-first football team. And that's what the line does best. The interior's always been pretty strong at that. They're good enough on the interior as pass blockers, but Nebraska's just quit fooling around with just kind of forcing the throw or going away from the run if it's worked. because you have a freshman quarterback you're cognizant of. And I think the O-line can get it done. I think Penn State's not great against the run. Their best asset is getting after the quarterback, and Knowles has done that more during their win streak. They quit dropping their stud Dennis Sutton as much. Deny Dennis Sutton, as much. They're sending him and turning him loose, but run right at those speed rushers, those edge rushers. I mean, kind of reinvoke the Maryland plan where don't let them get the opportunity to come at you on 3rd and 8. So the offensive line's comfort level right now and what they're best at is running the football. You got a back that helps make your offensive line better because he creates so much on his own. You have the mobile quarterback, to reiterate that. It's a lot to deal with if you're Penn State. And with this RPO thing that Nebraska's done so well, you got a way to counter too when it comes to getting after the quarterback. So, no, run it as much as you can, as much as you need to, and you're going to want to take care of the football and put some drives together. So, I mean, that's all obvious, but I think the O-line's up for the challenge. They can make a statement after being harpooned for much of the year with the over-under on sack totals allowed. They've flipped into form, leaned on the run, and been much better as the season's moved forward.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought up Dennis Sutton. He was a player that Rule specifically highlighted, number 33, 8.5 TFLs, I think 5 sacks. So he's going to be someone they have to deal with in this game. Flipping over the other side of the ball, Bruns, with Nebraska's defense, what's your I guess I think I know what your answer is. I'm just going to leave it open for you, though. I mean, what's your biggest worry?
Run defense.
Yeah, there you go. Go.
Go.
Talk about the run defense,
yeah,
please.
I'll just
talk about.
No, I mean, that's, Matt Rule, John Butler all week. That's the game right there. I mean, I think they feel like they can cover Penn State with the secondary, and it's going to come down to, are you able to stop the run? I mean, Penn State's got 2 really good running backs. They've got a good offensive line. They've got a quarterback that probably doesn't get the respect for continuing plays that perhaps he deserves. That was a big factor in the fourth quarter against Michigan State, was just his ability to keep plays alive and keep the drives going. And it's going to be a test for this defense about, where they're at coming out of the bye week. Can they tackle well? Can they get off blocks and get guys to the ball? So if Nebraska is able to force Penn State into 2nd and long, 3rd and long, I like their chances in this one. If it's 2nd and 4, 3rd and 2, those types of things, I think it's going to be a long day for Nebraska's defense. And even against UCLA, early in that game, you could kind of get a sense of what kind of game it was going to be run defense-wise for Nebraska. Like, UCLA was able to get some things done early on, and Nebraska was never able to kind of reverse the trend there. So a fast start for the defense is going to be really important in this one, because if Penn State sees early on in this game that they can run the ball with success at Nebraska, I think they're going to be more than comfortable continuing to do that throughout the game.
I'll ask both of you guys this. With these 2 final regular season games, start with you, Schmidt. Who on the defensive side of the ball, are you most interested in? If you were to pick 1 or 2 guys, who are you really watching? Maybe with a mind toward 26 as you're answering this, but what are you looking at individual wise?
There's a couple guys. I mean, Keona Davis loves playing teams from California. Has had his best games against, the state that bordered his home state in Arizona. So does his production and havoc level continue to be up there? Winery obviously is somebody that has been good against, getting after the quarterback. Does he continue to get better as a run stopper? I mean, that's a thing with his size and athleticism and just toughness. Does he kind of come into his own? Both those guys I'm curious about. And then, the defense, I think moving forward is going to be about Vincent Shavers with just what he does, how he patrols the middle. As young as he is, the splash plays he's made this season And even it kind of kicked off last year with the bowl game. So how does Shavers go out in a couple of phone booth games where Penn State's going to 1-2 punch you with their running game? Iowa's going to try and get their big dudes up to that second level and wear you out. He'll be super important next season, clearly, when Nebraska wants to get better against the run, but they have 2 opportunities, these final 2 games, knowing these teams want to run it down their throat. So what's Shavers' tackle total look like? Is he in double digits? Is he active? Is he free? Does the D-line keep him clean? Shavers is the number one guy I have circled for Saturday night.
Mm-hmm. That's a good one. Brunch, you probably have a couple guys too. Before you say an answer, I'll throw it in there. Deshaun McCullough is back this week, but what was interesting when you talk about the younger guys was John Butler, how he was talking about Dylan Rogers and like telling Phil Simpson, like we got to get this guy on the field. Like I could see him playing some snaps, quality reps in this game, even though Deshaun McCullough is back, as you think about some of those young guys.
Yeah, no, I think getting McCullough back is important because he's one of the few guys I think in that front 7 that on his own is kind of like a potential tackle for loss. I mean, like there's other guys that do that, but he's kind of that guy that's going to break through and make a play in the backfield to force a 2nd and 12 or something like that. So getting him back, I think, is really important. And to your point about Dylan Rogers, I mean, I think sometimes, that there's been other instances with Nebraska players in the past couple of years like this, where guys just get a chance. Mekhi Bayer is kind of, a good example of this, where a guy gets a chance on special teams. There's an opportunity on defense, and he just kind of runs with the opportunity. I mean, in that game against UCLA, I mean, it was basically a Dylan Rogers game, and Nebraska was not kind of rotating much at the jack spot. So now that you've got a player that's got a couple games under his belt. He played against USC as well a little bit, but a guy that can step in, give McCullough a rest or two as he's coming back from things, and that's how you build depth. I mean, and I think you got to give credit to a guy like Dylan Rogers, who was buried on the depth chart, changed positions in the spring, worked hard this summer, and kind of just, persevered and hung around and worked hard. And with McGahee choosing to redshirt, there was an opportunity with the injury, and he ran with it. So I'm eager to see what he looks like going forward. But I think, McCullough coming back, I think, is just really big in terms of if you're looking for havoc plays. He's been the guy, I think, on that roster most consistently this year that's brought them. Like it's him, Shavers, and probably Nwaneri are the 3 that I would point to as guys that are like the big difference, individual difference makers, and guys that can just put their hand in the dirt and make a play like that.
Yeah, good points there. He definitely could be a wild card. I'm going to ask you guys about wild cards or X factors. This could be a player, or it could be a topic within the game, or something you think that could tilt it. Schmidt, is there a guy, or maybe it's special teams or something, the game within the game that you think might shift this one?
Well, yeah, and it's going to be kicking. I think Nebraska right now has done exceptionally well with their return game if they've gotten a chance. But when it comes to field goal, Cunanan right now, statistically 12 of 15. In Big Ten play, his last couple of kicks haven't gone the way they've needed to go. And in a couple of Nebraska's losses, right, you look at SC, you look at the Michigan game, those were 2 misses in tight ball games. So pretty obvious, but I think there's going to be a drive where it'll stall, and that'll end up being the difference Saturday night, whether they get the kick to go through the uprights or not. So in wintry, I'm not saying, blizzard, but I'm saying it is going to be a cold November night in Unhappy Valley. Cunanan, when called upon, needs to be a difference maker and make the kick. That's the wild card. Whose field goal kicker is on point Saturday night, and Cunanan's great with extra points, 12 of 15. You're not going to sneeze at, but know where to put him in best chance for success. He's 1 of 3 between 40 and 49. He's 1 of 2 from 50. So he should be money between 30 and 40. All right. But don't ask him on the road in this temperature to stretch it too much, because it's not worked out.
And you're talking about a game where Holgorsen said this too. It's a limited possessions game, probably. I mean, even like last week against UCLA, what they have, the 3 drives in the first half, they all scored on. So you just cannot leave like a 37-yarder that gives you 3 points on the table. You got to make those. Do you have anything, Brunts, wild card maybe we're not talking about as much, that could come into play?
Yeah, I think TJ Lateef's ability to do it or not do it, to make plays off schedule, are going to be huge in this game. I mean, I think you saw a very managed game plan against UCLA. I know Dana said he didn't call it much differently, but Lateef really didn't see a ton of pressure when he dropped back to pass. He made some nice plays with his feet when he had to. Only had 5 carries in that game, but this feels like one of those games where if you're going to walk out of there with a win, you're going to need a small handful of plays where the pocket breaks down, you roll out, you hit somebody down the field, things break down on 3rd and 6, you run for 8 yards. I mean, those types of plays that just keep drives moving, because like you said, I mean, this is probably going to be a limited possession game, especially if you're able to take care of the ball. So, those handful of off-schedule plays where you're just relying on athleticism, I think that's going to be a real key for Nebraska's offense. And I think that's also going to be your potential for big plays as well. I mean, if you shake somebody loose downfield and Lateef's able to find them, I mean, those types of big plays that are just kind of momentum type plays that are really important if you want to try to win on the road like this.
All right, prediction time. Here we come. We'll start with picks to click, a guy that you think we'll be talking about, I guess, late Saturday night into Sunday. What do you got, Schmidt?
It's always good to find your tight end, isn't it? And we've talked a lot about Lindenmeyer, and he's really sparked the offense, or at least some drives this season, with a gash play downfield. Lindenmeyer's my pick to click. I think he is going to be really a safe option when it comes to some checkdowns. Not necessarily, Emmett's the first check down, but find Lindenmeyer somewhere in the flat over the middle, get the football to him, let him do some yak work. And I think he shows up big with his size and speed matchup advantage on a linebacker. I like Lindenmeyer as my pick.
Who you got, Bruns?
Javen Wright. I think his season to date has flown under the radar a little bit. Penn State's ability to find the tight end, I think is a factor in this game. He's going to have to be good in coverage. And, I just think, Nebraska's going to have to be physical against the run, and he's been Nebraska's probably most reliable tackler this season when you look at numbers. So he's going to need to really bring it. They're probably going to expect a lot out of him, especially with what's shaping up to probably be a phone booth type game. It's trying to stop Penn State's run game. So I'll say Javen Wright is my pick to click.
All right. I'll go Keona Davis. Chris mentioned him earlier. Coming off of 7 tackles, career game. Had a sack, which came like a locomotive on that one. I do think he's building up steam, it sounds like, behind the scenes, and it's now starting to translate to the games. So I'll use him as a representation of the D-line. But with it, I'd add, like, this has to be like Elijah Judy's got to like finish his career with like a bang here. Like you need him to have some of like the best games of his life. Like a Gabe Moore is a guy who, he played, what didn't he play like 15, 18 snaps, Brunts? Was it at the count against UCLA? He got in there more.
Yep.
And those are the type of guys that, like, when you sub guys out, and if it is a longer Penn State drive, you just can't have a weak link. And so those guys are going to be as important. But my pick is Keona Davis. And with that, we'll go to our favorite part, which is the oddly specific predictions. The more odd, the more specific, the more we appreciate you and your family likes you. Do you have one, Schmidt? Do you have a good one? You can have 2. You can have 7 if you want.
I'm pretty traditional with the prediction number. Line right now is at 9.5. I'm going to say first and foremost, Nebraska wins outright. I think that's going to continue to make things interesting as the season wears down. Give me Nebraska 33-29.
33-29. You jump. Maybe I didn't even say it right. Did you jump me? Because I want to. Do you have like an oddly specific thing that's going to happen within that win?
Gotcha. No, I need to
think about it.
Comprende a little bit better. I think there'll be a play where the ball gets knocked out of TJ Lateef's hands. He picks it up and runs for a first down.
Okay. Like that's one of my favorite plays almost of Husker history against Michigan State in the great 2012 game. Taylor Martinez has the ball knocked loose as he's running towards the Spartan end zone, actually picks it up, and had a guy not tripped him, he would have went like 60 yards recovering his own fumble. So I like that, and we'll pretend we didn't hear Schmidt's prediction.
Yeah, I didn't hear anything.
Save it for the end because that's a good way to close it. Bruns, what do you got? Oddly specific. Do you have anything?
Yeah, I do. I think it's going to be a game where points are a bit of a premium. I feel like Chris is probably going to say this is going to be a little bit of a high scoring game. I don't think it is. I think it's going to be a little bit of a lower.
Chris is probably wrong.
I'm going to say it's a lower scoring game. I think Kunanen has a good game. I'm gonna predict 3 made field goals by Nebraska. He's gonna be standing down there by the warmer. He's gonna have that foot nice and warm when he goes in there to kick it. I'm gonna say I'm seeing 47 yards. That's the number in my head as the long field goal. I think he bangs through a 33-yarder and also give me Nebraska just kind of stalls out in the red zone. They have their issues again. So I'm going to say 33-47 and give me 29.
Wow.
And that's where your 3 made field goals are going to come from.
That 47-yarder just clear it? I mean, does it have some?
No, it's got enough on it. Like there's not going to be much doubt about whether it's going to get there. I mean, it's going to be cold, but he'll get it there. He'll kick it there.
Okay. I have a few oddly specific predictions. I just have a feeling Schmidt is going to predict a score with 62 total points in it, if I did the math right.
It's way on the overs.
I say there's going to be a screen in Isaiah Hunter that's going to work in the third quarter where he's going to get through the traffic.
That screen, the one they always run?
The screen, kind of like how we talked about the diamond formation back in the day. That screen, why don't they call it every play?
Yep.
So he's going to go for 53 yards. The O-linemen are going to get out in space and enjoy that, huffing and puffing. But he's going to get tripped down at just a 4-yard line. You're going to see that his left foot just touched out of bounds. He didn't score. And then it's going to become a struggle. And on 4th and goal from the 1, it's going to be a run-pass type option play for TJ. He's going to be kind of in danger. He's not going to make it in there. And at the last second, he's going to flip it to Luke Lindenmeyer. Schmidt's pick to click, and this will contribute to that for a touchdown on 4th and goal at the 1.
Okay.
And there'll also be there has to be one play that officials call a catch on the field. This is going to be on Penn State's end, but they're going to review it and they're going to realize ball hit the turf, and at least they'll have to go back to the 1982 footage then to show, to play off of one another.
Is Blackledge in the booth again for this?
Ooh, I don't,
because he's the guy. Yeah, because he threw the 17 hopper that was called a touchdown.
Yeah, maybe he won't allow it to be.
It's Noah Eagle and Todd Blackledge.
Yeah. So Blackledge might say, "Hey, none of the 82. I don't want these guys chirping at me."
Well, at least it's at home.
Yeah, I'm just saying, to the viewers, maybe it'll be we're not showing the footage, but that's interesting. So he's calling it, huh?
Yeah.
I think he is. Yeah. And
Yep.
then show the sideline where it looks like, the old dead body painting where
Yeah.
it's outside the normal straight line. Yeah.
You have to be of a certain age to remember they had T-shirts about that, like with the picture of the field in Happy Valley.
Unconventional shape.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Final scores. I'll start it off. I'll say, I hope someone picks Nebraska. I'm going to say Penn State 22-17, a Husker cover, but we're not after covers around here. But Penn State wins a hard-fought game with limited possessions. What do you say, Bruns?
Yeah, I'll go Penn State in this one. I believe this is the first game I've picked against Nebraska this year, maybe. I think I even had them beating Michigan, but I think it's going to be a cold points at a premium type night. I'm going to say 2017 Penn State. Nebraska covers, but low scoring. And, well, that actually wouldn't work.
Yeah, you need 3 field goals.
I need 3 field goals.
They have 16, somehow. I think.
Yeah, give me 16. So, yeah, I'll go 2016 Penn State.
It could work. It could be 20-9, and they could score and go.
I never worry about how it adds up, but at 16-17, I'll say 20-16.
Yeah. All right, Schmitty, what do you got?
We're gonna play the Nixon tape and burn it here. I am still going with Nebraska. I am changing my score just a shade. But
that matches with my oddly specific prediction that you're changing the score.
I'm kidding, of course. We'll stick with the 33-29.
I like that. That's a wild game. That's.
I think it might turn into just
F
it. Let's just throw the ball all around.
That happens a lot of times.
Defense optional, right?
You guys know a lot of times it's like, this is how this game's going to be for the whole week, and then it's completely the other way. That's the type of game I'd want to watch back again, sort of like I'd want to watch that 56-44 Penn State game in 2017. That sounds like it was a pretty interesting game by the score.
By the score. They wandered in traffic at halftime because it was 50-4 at halftime or whatever it was. A lot of garbage points and yards, wasn't it?
Nebraska tidied that one up nicely.
It's an old joke Brunson and I have about one of the greatest Husker scroll games in history to make that 56-44 where a guy sees that. They're like, man, I'm going to have to watch that one back on the Game in 60 on BTN. But anyway, so we've got a Husker pick. Schmitty saved us on that one. That would be sweet. If they're 8-3 coming back for Black Friday, and definitely keeps hope alive of like a January 1st type bowl. If you win this kind of game. Well, thanks a lot for joining us, Chris. Tell everyone where they can find you for all your content.
Appreciate you, Brunsey and BC. Thank you both for all you do for the Average Joe Sports Show. That's weekdays 4 to 6. KFOR and affiliates around the state of Nebraska on the Average Joe Network, and find us weekends as well. Weekend Average Joe Show, typically 7:45-ish in the morning. We flex schedule for right ahead of kickoff, so we'll be on at 4 this Saturday, and then Sunday live at 10:30. Bill Dolman, Gary Sharp, and Elijah Herbal. So we're on 7 days a week, pods all 7 days, and then live radio Monday through Friday. So you guys are great.
I would say you're one of the hardest working guys in America if you didn't text me a lot about playing golf, which maybe gets in the way of that.
The James Brown of local radio. Jeez.
I drive better than James. Did.
Well, thanks so much for being on, and thanks everyone for listening to the HypeCast, and come back to Husker 247 for all the latest.